Hello and welcome. This is Kristen from the Online Selling Show, and I wanted to bring up a topic today that I don't know gets discussed much in regards to having things like your eBay business. And that is that I've been doing this for 22 years, and I think I've lost sight sometimes in what those early growing pains were, or some of those early decisions and assessments that came along for my family in having this eBay business. I've mentioned before that we've been since 2017, that this has been our family's sole source of income. This didn't come easy. It didn't just happen overnight. This was something that has been through many phases, evolutions, and one of the early realizations was that with my husband and I, we've always been in a mindset of planning things for the future. We were always one that was very inclusive, having our son in things like meetings with attorneys and CPAs. We did do some real estate investing with some rental properties. My son was there through those settlements and transactions. And one of the things I think that gets lost is that having this eBay reselling business is just a vehicle in getting you things that you need or want in life. It is definitely a life skill. It is no different than somebody training you to do things like a handyman or driving a car or swimming. It's one of the things you may not do every day. You may not do it for a year or several years. But once you've learned how to have eyesight to see opportunity around you, how to make use of things that you can be able to resell at a profit, realistically is a skill set. It is something that I highly recommend, that if you're going into wanting to be in an eBay business, you become very inclusive of people around you, whether it's a husband, a wife, children, mothers, parents, grandparents, whoever is in your direct sphere. If you decide to go into this, realistically, they are going to be affected by this, because routines are going to change, environments are going to be changed, there's going to be deadlines or stresses that come up from this that others around you are going to feel. And I say all this because for me, we just spent a weekend away, my husband, my son, and I. And for me personally, that lesson came back up again because, as I mentioned, I've been doing retail, or this online retail, for 22 years. Those early growing pains happened when my son was very young. By the time he became of an age where he was starting to help in the business and stuff like that, I had already been through many evolutions and phases and was already into Amazon. So when he came in, there was already multiple sales platforms on the family's plate, so to speak. It was more of still being in that hobby business to become a more serious professional business for me. And for me, like I said, I kind of forget some of that because I had growing pains with platforms in their early phases, in addition to things going with my own personal environment. And things that were frustrating were not just me having to learn things, but having to learn them as the companies were learning some of their things. And it did have a lot of extra stress. And I think in my mind, when you look back, you always kind of gloss over those. And having started the new eBay business in June really made me start to assess some of those hurdles and emotional transitions that you're going to face going through it, because there's going to be a lack of time available for some things, or you're going to have to restructure where and how things like errand running and stuff get done. Maybe the idea of this is for you to free yourself up from a second job that takes you out of the household to now let you being in the household, but there's still going to be obligations that you'll have. I don't bring all this up to be a downer on all this. I say to make this a time for being very inclusive to those in your family. Try to find ways to bring them into this. Some of them may not come very willingly. I will tell you that this new eBay endeavor, I kind of thrust on my family. We have a situation where my son is going to be in the later part of his college education, which means we're looking on the downside of having the bills and obligations for that. We are looking at the getting out of this family's main source of income that has become very stressful, but it's liberating, if that makes any sense. And we started to think about what does it look like for us in 3 years. And there's a lot of different, not just the habits and daily activity, but the financial changes in our household that are coming are going to be many. And I thrust this in there because it was something I'm desiring, but realistically, it is affecting all of them, both my son and my husband. And once we sat down and we had time over the weekend, being away from the house, we were traveling, so we were sitting in airports and things like that. It opened up the conversation, and we realized that what use my envisionment was for it is going to be basically a benefit for the whole household. It's going to allow us to transition during this period of time, and the willingness for my son and my husband for the pieces and components that are going to be needed were very refreshing, I will say. And we've talked at length about how we want to basically move this business out of the house, because it's not just, like I said, the timing of, or how much of your time it's taking up. I've now got physical stuff in the house. One of the things my husband's first complaint is we're looking to, he says downsize, but I'm looking to get into shedding we've been in this house now over 20 to 25 years. Anybody that's been in a house for that long will probably relate when I say that you do need that clean out. You do need to go through cupboards and cabinets and attics and basements and just drawers, all that stuff. And that's where we're at in our life. And he's looking at it that with me now going to the estate sales and all, that I'm just filling the house up with other people's stuff. We need to address our own, and I don't disagree with him on that. I guess for me, I look at the value and want to go for those big ticket items, and I'm not wanting to address the $10 items that are sitting there that I already own. And my son has where he doesn't necessarily, he's been around the opportunity of what you can do using the platform of eBay and Amazon, and it's made him honestly a little bit not wanting to do this trading your time for money, which is realistically what you do when you're getting paid by the hour. And it's exactly in that how many dollars per your hour they're willing to give you. So you're trading your time for that money. And my son has been around seeing that potential of buying the $1, $2 item and selling for $50 to $100. I kind of spoiled him. So we've discussed what kind of more in-depthness my son could be taking in the role for this, because he's kind of wanting to experiment doing this as his own business endeavor for a job instead of going out there and getting on somebody else's payroll, because he's, like I said, on the downside of college, but he will have limited time, and trying to get jobs sometimes and being on other people's schedules with that is not going to be easy. He will have to realistically probably look for something for the summer versus the spring semester, but this will give him an opportunity to start dabbling in, will that be something he could do in the summer months instead of going for somebody else's job? That's for him to determine. But I tell you, look at your eBay business as something that can be educational. It can be a lifelong skill for those that you're exposing this to. Maybe you're just starting to learn it yourself. I tell you to approach this. It is no different than any other skill or thing you've had to learn through trying to read or do arithmetic. It's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be hurdles. It's going to be stressful at times, but it is something that if you choose to not participate in several years, but want to get back to it, your mind is going to be, your eye is going to be trained to see value in things that a lot of other people will not. And I tell you not to approach this just as money. It's not money. It is the vehicle to get you the things that you desire, whether it's more being charitable, or maybe it is being able to own your own time and be able to be around your family in a more accessible capacity than being at somebody else's facility earning that wage. Maybe it is for doing things where you can hire somebody to make certain parts of your life easier, things like a house cleaner per se. Maybe it is something that it's going to pay for down on debt that you have and bring you some peace of mind. That is what you're realistically going to need to fulfill all the ups and downs to become successful in having these types of ventures, because it's going to be an adventure. It's going to be tough at times. It's going to be exhilarating at times. But if you have that thing in mind of how that vehicle, being the eBay business, is going to get you there, you'll remember that and get yourself through it. And if your family can be seeing that same vision with you, it's really going to make things more smooth in the household, because they're going to be affected. It's not even just in the household. It's going to affect things like obligations that you've maybe participated in otherwise that you're going to have to start cutting back on. Maybe you're not going to be able to be that soccer mom who helps do some type of carpooling or something. I'm telling you, it will start impacting other areas. And if you don't think of things and how it's going to help you and those around you, you'll start losing sight, and it gets very frustrating. I was out of this business for about a year, and it was because I didn't have that end goal or some way it was going to benefit us in mind. At the time, it was just something I started. I was pregnant with my son, and it was just something to kind of pass the time when I was out on preterm labor, and I didn't really have a why or a goal in mind. And once I did, it really became what it is today. I hope this conversation that I'm having with you today helps you in some way. I would appreciate some comments down below if you're getting anything out of this. I would really appreciate a thumbs up if you did get something good out of this. And I would ask if you could please hit that subscribe button. Help me grow the channel. Help me reach the other people that maybe like yourself that want to get involved in this, have thought about getting involved in this, or are involved in this and just need a little bit more guidance to help get that business up and prosperous for everybody in your family and in your life that's going to benefit from this. There is many, many ways that this will be far-reaching. You would be surprised. I'm going to say bye for now, and I'll see you later.